Arranger is obviously it's an executing theme. It's about I think one of the words that I think describes Arranger is productivity. It's about getting something done, and so in that way, it's kind of a like achiever. But it's different in that it's not just about getting things done by individual effort. It's getting things done by orchestrating and coordinating and facilitating to some degree the work of others. I think it's a collaborative kind of productivity that Arranger often kind of executes. Some other words that I think are kind of critical besides productivity, another word that I think really fits the Arranger theme is multiplicity. It's really about people who are, in a sense, like the variables, all of the different pieces and parts, and the pieces of the productivity puzzle for an Arranger can certainly be people. It can be kind of process, different kinds of ways of doing things. It can be different kinds of products. It's all of the different pieces. And so it's really trying to put that puzzle together to kind of really build productivity. And it's really, so it's productivity, it's multiplicity. I think it's also flexibility. That's another word that I think it's this ability to kind of flex. It's not fixed. It's more fluid in nature. It's not settled. It's always willing and able to change and to adjust and to arrange and rearrange and to think and rethink. The re-word seems to be something that's certainly a part of it. And then I think that the other thing that I think kind of makes Arranger what it is it's interactive. And I think that's where that collaborativeness comes from. It's kind of involving and interacting with other people to get things done. I have really liked to clarify things, and if you've ever been in any of the programs that I've taught and if followed me in some of the writing I do, I'm always trying to kind of compare and contrast themes to kind of build character. And I think this is a kind of a fun one to do, just to get clearer about Arranger, is by kind of comparing and contrasting it to other themes. And so we've already started this, comparing and contrasting Arranger to Achiever. Arranger is really about collaborative productivity, whereas Achiever is more about personal productivity. It's more about the diligence of the individual, whereas people with Arrangers get stuff done with and through other people. There's a real collaborative part to that productivity. I think you can also compare and contrast Arranger and strategic. And Mara, I know that you've got both of those two themes, and so you might be able to talk about this a bit more later. I think Arrangers are often people who kind of juggle multiple realities. Jim Collison also has Arranger as one of his top 5, and I was talking to him this morning, and he's a guy that often has multiple irons in the fire. Mm-hmm. He's juggling flaming balls, I guess that might be what you could say. But so it's really, Arrangers juggle multiple realities, and people with strategic really sort through multiple possibilities. These are imaginary things. Arrangers are dealing with reality. It's what's going on in the moment, and it's kind of real-time juggling as opposed to imaginary. You could also compare and contrast Arranger with adaptability, because I think they have some things in common. I think both Arranger and adaptability are themes that are comfortable with change. The difference is that people with Arranger are a bit more about, to some degree, creating change, being kind of the source of change in a team or in an organization, whereas people with adaptability are more likely to react and respond and to some degree to go along with change. It really, I think people with Arranger have a bit more control over change or influence over change. You could also kind of compare and contrast Arranger with discipline. I think Arranger, because we often use the word organized. I think it's even in our definition about Arranger, there's something about organized, but I think it's a different kind of organization. I think the the person with arranger has more fluid, real-time planning, is how I describe it. It's kind of, to some degree, planning and organizing on the fly in the moment a bit, whereas people with discipline are more what I would call fixed pre-planning. It's they plan it and then they do it, whereas people with arranger are kind of doing those two things kind of simultaneously. They're kind of almost like spontaneous and more real time. Maybe that's enough kind of comparisons and contrasts here. I also want to talk a little bit how, arranger can be affected by the other themes that are related to it. There are some themes that moderate arranger, kind of to some degree complement it. There are other themes that might actually intensify it and kind of take it to a higher level. I think a theme that actually could moderate arranger would be harmony. I think harmony might to some degree help in the stabilizing of emotions that could be affected by changes. People with arranger often change things, and there are often emotional implications to change. And a person with harmony, that harmony could to some degree help stabilize the kind of fluctuating emotions that come with change that they bring. I think another theme that could moderate arranger could be focus. There might be some people that have high focus and high arranger, or they have arranger and they have a partnership with someone that has high focus. I think to some degree, focus could bring a more singular direction to this kind of flexible and changeable approach. So arranger might look a lot different if you had focus in your top 5. Themes that actually might intensify arranger would be a theme like individualization. So people with arranger are interested in the right fit for the role. I want to get the work done, so I want to get the right people in the right role to get the job done. People with individualization want to get the person in the right fit for the person. So it's about fit. Both of these themes, I think, are about fit. Arrangers are interested in finding fit because it's going to maximize productivity. People with individualization want to kind of find the right fit because it's going to maximize to some degree the engagement of the person. And then finally, maybe another thing that might intensify arranger could be includer. I think arrangers by nature involve people. It's interactive and it gets people involved. And I think if you add includer to that, it makes it even broader involvement, making sure everybody's involved in this process or in this project or in this team. So those would be some examples. In terms of the frequency of themes of this particular theme, 14% of our database have arranger in their top 5. So it's not the most frequent, it's not the least frequent, it's kind of in the middle. But basically, 15 out of every 100 people have in their top 5. Also, I think it's kind of interesting to think about what theme kind of is most likely paired with arranger, and it's responsibility. If people have arranger, they are often going to have responsibility. And Mara, I think that's why we had you on the show.
Guilty.
People have that as well. The theme that is least likely, and again, sometimes this is not quite as helpful, but arranger and command seem to be a bit more diametrically opposed. I think in some ways they both have a controlling element to them, but I think to some degree the control of command is probably a little more intense and a bit more independent than I think arranger, so that might make some sense.